Okay, now, first things first. What is Megavalanche? In my opinion, it's probably the craziest mountain bike race in the world. It is a race where you start at a high-altitude glacier and go full downhill for 22 kilometers. A race that takes you through all types of terrain you can possibly imagine. A race that separates the man from the boys. Now, wait a minute. Who's that handsome stud behind this voice? I hear you're wondering. It's me, Yuri, just a regular everyday guy. A solid 8 of 10. And most importantly, a complete amateur with absolutely no previous mountain bike experience. Why am I telling you all of this? At the beginning of last summer, I was alone, desperate and out of shape. And probably due to this life crisis, I made a decision to travel the world. Somehow. And it's not a coincidence that at this exact time of my life, I stumbled across videos of the best riders in the world. It was only 2 weeks before the actual race. I immediately fell in love by the amount of skills presented. Skills such as riding technique, endurance, adaptability. The skills of which, shamelessly, I had none. And while I was visualizing myself as someone who completed the big mega, I thought to myself, ha! Easy! I can do this too! Long story short, I signed myself up, found a bike, booked flying ticket to France, and this is my amateurish Megavalanche story. I'm starting my story here, in the middle of the French Alps, in a tiny village called Alpe d'Huez, where my friend and I spawned in the evening, after 8 hours of travel. With nothing much to do, we were enjoying our first beer. Later on, we went to find our hotel. With a view like this, we popped the second, then went out again, found a nice place just to chill out, popped the fifth, and from that moment, I found myself in a magical wonderland, dreaming of the next chapter of my life that will start tomorrow. I woke up at 7 and rushed out of the hotel as fast as I could. The village was still sleeping, but my head was running wild. There was absolutely no time to waste. I had to get the registration, pick up a bike, and train hard, because tomorrow will be a qualification race. Full of joy, excitement, and cheerful expectation, I rushed across the village straight to the expo. But my excitement was soon put in place when I realized that, due to my lack of interest in reading the simple rules of the race, I had arrived just too early. No. While waiting patiently, I popped one for the morning, avec un petit croissant. It was delicious. 8:16 exact, full of confidence, I entered the expo. With a medical certificate stating that I'm not completely retarded to participate in the hardest mountain bike race in the world, I went to register myself. And it all went incredibly well.
Thierry, le forfait, hop, le vert, et 5. Magnifique. Bah, juste signer là, okay. Hop. Le forfait. Impeccable, normalement c'est tout bon pour moi.
Second task, get a bike. Now, this was a problem. Because as I mentioned earlier, I registered only 2 weeks before the race, which put me in an unpleasant situation of figuring out where to get a bike. After desperately visiting an uncountable number of web pages, I soon realized that the majority of bikes were already taken because of the race. My despair rapidly grew. But then, at the very end, jackpot! I found one, my precious gem, a VTT DH Descent. The Gambler. I hadn't the slightest idea of what this meant, but according to ChatGPT, it is a beast! I quickly booked it, entered my height because the taller you are, the larger frame you need. I myself am quite of a tall guy. Confirmed, sent, everything was bright. But then I received an email stating that size L is currently not at disposition. And if I want, I can book a better one that is available but slightly more expensive. A pivot carbonite. I still hadn't the slightest clue what it meant. But let's face it, with not many other options left, I accepted. I finally got my bike. It was magnificent, beautiful, splendid. We completed each other. Also, 2 days later, I noticed a small M on the frame. And to this day, I do not want to know what the M stands for. Bike checked. Third task, train hard. I made it to the first smallest hill. And oh boy, you can't even imagine the huge amount of excitement I had.
So here I am for the first time. Bring it on.
My camera speaking skills were not very high, but I will work on my performance in the future. I started rolling. First impressions, mind-blowing. The bike, splendid. The surroundings,
Wow.
comparing it to my hometown, it was a pleasant change. Riding down was easy and fun. I also encountered some jets on exercise. Why do you ask? I have no idea. Probably training for the 14th of July, aka Bastille Day, which is the biggest holiday in France. 1 week from now, and there'll be a big party in Paris. Hey! But back to the present. I wasn't there to pleasure myself. I was there to conquer. After completing the trail, I headed to the opposite side of the mountain. The plan was to go to the highest point and ride down. Simple enough, right? Well, luckily for me, while in a cabin, you've plenty of time to socialize with random bike mates. And I had met some friendly gentlemen who kindly informed me that it is not the brightest idea to go straight to the top. Now, let me explain to all of you because I did not know this piece of information. There are 4 levels of trails. Green, which is super easy, blue, which is medium, red, that is hard, and at the end, black, considered as super hard. And then there is the Megavalanche.
Easy rider. Okay.
With this freshly acquired information, I reconsidered my plans and started on a green trail. The ride here was very smooth, with a few turns, some small jumps, and surprisingly, all trails were quite long too, usually a few kilometers, and very enjoyable. I was having a great time. The biggest issue I encountered, however, was pain in my hands. Even though it is not so obvious from the video, all the shocks from the jumps and bumps were transferred directly to my untrained, feeble hands, leading quickly to fatigue and exhaustion. But even with the pain in my hands, the green trail was enjoyable. I decided to make a pit stop at the hotel, just to eat something, and more importantly, to create a detailed plan. The plan was as follows. I would gradually complete every level of difficulty, and once I was done with the black trail, I would consider myself ready for tomorrow. I grabbed my gloves I had borrowed from my previous job in the military and headed straight for the trails. Now, the blue trail.
Okay, blue. Here we go. Oh.
It was almost the same as the green one, except it felt bigger and wider. I didn't find it difficult, and it was very enjoyable to ride, as well as visually pleasing. I'm still talking about the trail, okay? The only significant difference I found was in the jumps. There were many, and they were much higher. Sadly, I was not very confident in jumping, and I'd been braking in front of each one, resulting in probably the lamest photos ever. I always let the more experienced and faster riders pass in front of me, because I'm such a kind person. The trails were long, and I was enjoying them to the maximum. Anyways, the blue was done. I rewarded myself with some sugar. Next one, the red.
Difficile.
The fun was over. this was for big boys and girls only. I was enjoying the diversity of the trail, yet felt a huge respect at the same time, due to challenging terrain. The main difference was that I found myself on rocks, where technique and skills were necessary, the two principal things I didn't have. Yet, I possessed a huge amount of stubbornness, which somehow compensated for it. I managed to continue through the red trail, dealing with rocks and some medium jumps, but there were also some higher jumps, and I won't lie, I chickened out a few times.
Oh no, 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 no.
The pain in my arms was still present, but the red trail was completed. I went to the last one, went up, then up again, then to the mountains. At this exact moment, I stopped smiling. And there I was, ready for some harder, faster and deeper adventure. Before all of that, of course, some highly dangerous sugar. Some mental preparation, and off we go. First impression? It was very similar to the red trail, yet more mountainous with steeper descents, and also twice as long. The terrain was very challenging. Some parts were gravel, some a normal path, and sometimes big stones.
Wow.
And sometimes big and sharp stones. Most of the time I had to stop to think about how to go down, or I just had to rest due to fatigue. The black trail took me the most time to complete, mainly due to its complexity. I was struggling, but at the same time I knew it was possible. After some time I finally managed to finish the black path, which naturally made me super happy. And in my own eyes, I was ready for tomorrow's qualification race. Now, while I'm on my way riding down, let me explain how this qualification race works. Because Megavalanche has over 1,000 participants each year, there needs to be some kind of sorting, some kind of order. So, all these huge numbers of participants are subdivided into separate waves of approximately 100 riders. All those waves start 15 minutes apart. After each wave is finished, the fastest 35 riders of each wave are put together into the most elite, first-class, hardcore, professional Megavalanche group. The riders who finish from
36th to 70th
place are grouped together into the so-called Challenger group. Slightly less badass than the first one, but still with a massive. The ones from 71st to
94th
place are classified as the Amateur group. Lastly, all those who finish after 95th place and beyond are in the group called Affinity. I don't know what that group means. But anyways, once all the groups are organized, they will be ready to start the main race separately at different times. This way, the professionals won't be mixed with the amateurs, etc. After all the groups, there will also be a group of runners participating in this half-marathon trail, just for fun. And then, at the very end, there is me. Where will I be, you wonder? I don't know. It all depends on tomorrow's race. Maybe here, or maybe here, or maybe. Only time will tell. Now that I was back in the village and it was getting late, I considered myself done for the day. In my own eyes, I was ready for tomorrow. I rode to my hotel to store the bike, take a shower and eat something. And later, I went back to the expo just to chill, enjoy some free beer and socialize with others.
Magnifique, merci beaucoup.
All ready for tomorrow. I slept well, felt ready, made my way to meet the others, where I waited for a swift moment. The start of the qualification race was actually pretty far. After the first lift, we had to cover around 4 kilometers to get to another lift. I consider it as a great warm-up exercise. On my way up, I befriended a Scottish fellow rider to share the suffering. I don't know why, but I met so many people from Scotland here, and all of them were so friendly, helpful and chill. I believe the source of their happiness lies in high alcohol consumption, same as Czechs. But I kept rolling. I continued my path until I arrived at a second lift cabin station, where after another swift moment, we were heading into the mountains. The atmosphere was friendly and calm, organizers smiling and organized, everybody mentally prepared for the battle. It was slightly colder at the top, but the excitement kept us warm from the inside. I said goodbye to my random Scottish friend.
Enjoy it.
And got myself on a spot. I had arrived just in time to see the second wave depart. Since I was in a fourth wave, there was plenty of time for a little sneak peek of what was coming. Curiously, I went to take a look. In the first few seconds, I got completely sardined, which was not exactly my favorite thing to do. In the next seconds, I enjoyed some dust in my mouth. But despite all of this, the first stage of the race was more in my favor. Thanks to the steep downhill, I let my fatness collaborate with gravity, which created a good momentum. In some places, we encountered a bit of snow, just a tiny bit. Then some stones, gravel, and straight to wide paths. I put the pedal to the metal and went on maximum. In one part, we entered the same path as I trained yesterday, so I knew exactly what was in front of me. The sharp stones. In my opinion, those were the biggest obstacles for everyone, especially for people like me, without proper technique. I struggled and desired for speed at the same time. We all went hard, and the unbroken spirit of participants was present everywhere, even despite some unfortunate situations.
I broke my leg.
Huh?
I broke my leg.
You okay?
No.
Oh,
Broke my leg.
I can help you. Leave the bike, sit down.
Let's go a race.
Do you need help?
Yeah, maybe later.
See? If this isn't focus, commitment and sheer will to race, then I don't know what is.
Ah, je suis fatigué aussi.
The path continued, and further in the race, exhaustion started to creep in slightly among us. But it was not over yet. After some time, we managed to get away from the stones and entered a part of the blue trail I took yesterday. And it was a pleasant change. From the blue trail, we went to narrow dirt paths, and there it happened. Shamelessly, I had to admit, this was a point where I had my weakness. My bike was fantastic on descents, but when it came to long, narrow paths or riding uphill, I was done. And I have to put all the blame on my bike, because fat shaming is strictly prohibited these days. So it was definitely not my own fault by being a chocolate dumpling. The fastest riders from the fifth wave were starting to overtake me. I knew I was close. With the finish line in sight, I had to give it my maximum.
Well, that was fun. So that was the pre-qualification race. Just tired. I think I was the last one from my group, but it's okay because a second day on the bike, not bad. I actually passed in front of a few people, but they were mostly hurt or with broken bikes. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. And tomorrow, no, after tomorrow, on Sunday, will be the big day. Woo!
I celebrated with some free pizza I found next to a trash can. It was delicious. And guess what? Ha! I wasn't last. With a very pleasant time of 33:05, I qualified myself into the amateur group. The first from our wave was Kilian Braun, who won the wave with a time 15 minutes and 39 seconds. The difference between us was only 17 minutes and 26 seconds. See, it's not that much. I almost got him. The rest of the day I decided to spend without the bike. I went to the highest point called Pic Blanc with an altitude of 3,300 meters. The main race will be taking place from here, with the initial part fully on snow.
Ouais, it'll be fun.
I descended with the idea to spend more time exploring the surroundings. I found myself in the middle of astonishing nature, which seemed like a perfect place to relax for the rest of the day. The lake in front of me served as a water supply for drinking water. Though it was so clear, entering it was prohibited. Me being a good boy and respecting all regulations, I did not get in. I was just relaxing around until the next day. The third day was what I call a perfect day. I woke up early and went straight for a ride. There was absolutely nobody. The entire mountain was just for me. I went for a quick green, ultimately enjoyed it. After yesterday's massacre, it felt so good. Then back up again, turn a few greens and blues, enjoyed it fully.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Oh, a weasel.
Saw a weasel, tried new roads I didn't know, and got completely lost.
Where am I?
And found myself on the other side of the village. Explored some hidden locations with some side quests. Check out my flawless style. I had to ride it 4 times without falling down. Explored the village, enjoyed the views, and discovered that Alpe d'Huez is also a very significant and important place in the Tour de France. I didn't know this, but now I do. I made my way up again, but this time I chose to explore some unknown, undiscovered territory on the other side. Here, it didn't matter whether with or without a bike. This place was worth a visit. I was roaming like this the whole afternoon. Truly, as I said, a perfect day. And after all of this, I went up again. And what I did after? You can bet I did the whole trail one more time, because it was so awesome. We finished the evening with some traditional French cuisine on the street next to the expo, fully prepared for tomorrow's big day. After a swift moment, I'd finally made it to the top. I was dead serious. Every single atom in my body was ready for this moment. After all the hard work for the past 3 days, I felt like a well-oiled machine de guerre. It was exactly how I always imagined it, even better.
So here I am, the moment I've been waiting for, and I've been training so hard for 3 days, and I'm gonna enjoy it.
That's what she said. But anyways, the race started. In the very first seconds, we all tried to get down somehow. But how? The snow was too challenging and slippery, making it nearly impossible to ride a bike. After a few meters, someone in front of me had an idea: to slide down while sitting. This turned out to be very effective, and soon everybody was getting down collectively, sliding on their bumps. Now, I was dreaming of high speed, an adrenaline rush, and all those majestic feelings that come along. And instead of that, I found myself surrounded by hundreds of men, collectively and voluntarily stimulating their sensitive areas on a mountain somewhere in France. After some time, it became very natural to me. It was like sitting on a bus with fellow passengers, enjoying the ride. And of course I tried to get up and ride, but it was nearly impossible for me to stay on the bike and build a good momentum. I also attempted to slide, which somehow worked for a short duration. Then I tried pushing with my legs while sitting on the bike, and then I tried running alongside. But none of these really worked. The snow was too difficult. So I went back to what I already knew: a good old sliding. And to be honest, I was getting pretty darn good at it. I was rubbing my butt on that mountain for almost 2 kilometers.
No.
Eventually, we managed to get out of the snow. I started feeling slightly exhausted because the snow gave us a really hard time. But the battle was still at the beginning. Then came the difficult part. The terrain was highly technical. The mountainous terrain was treacherous, and not just for me. We all struggled collectively. When there were no big stones on the road, there was a narrow path of gravel, and I was slipping all the time. The weakest link, however, was once again in my arms.
My arms are chilly.
Due to the constant shocks, the pain was enormous. But I don't want to just complain and cry all the time, like a little sissy. There were moments of relief as well. Shortly after the technical part, a fantastic road appeared, along with such a breathtaking view. Not bad at all, I have to admit. I was enjoying this part so much. The road, the scenery, the excitement. It felt like heaven. And even though it doesn't seem like it, it was still very exhausting. I started facing another problem, because apparently I am a crying sissy. I forgot to bring water. Who would have ever thought that after 5 hours I would need some, while riding down this half-marathon race? I considered grabbing one from a natural spring while passing by. But what am I, an animal? Nah. Plus, I didn't want to lose precious seconds from my overall race time. So how to figure it out? I didn't know. With time, my urge rapidly grew. No other springs appeared, only direct sun, dirt and sweat for a long time. But every time I'm done, a huge amount of luck also comes my way. I remember there were runners behind us, and as I was arriving at their aid station, I saw it was full of juicy replenishments.
L'eau, vous avez de l'eau?
If you're watching, thank you for helping me, you fantastic people.
Ouais, normalement c'est pour les trailers, camarades. Hein.
Ah, j'étais pas encore là, ouais. J'ai passé juste à côté, donc. Merci. Oh, super.
C'est bon?
Merci, monsieur.
Allez.
Ouais.
The second part of the race was tough. With complete exhaustion, we had to climb up a hill. Big thumbs up for all the good people cheering and helping along the road.
You okay, mate?
All good.
Sure?
We were entering the forest for a very long time, and in my opinion, this was the hardest part. The hardest because it felt truly endless. It was so long, and my whole body was screaming in pain. We emerged in some village for a short duration, and then back to the forest. With no energy, riding down the routes was super difficult. Another village, and straight back to the forest. I was praying for the end around every corner, but it didn't come. From now on, it was just existing in pure agony. After countless minutes, that felt like hours, filled with tears, regret and despair, I came to a bridge. I knew from the videos before that the bridge is at the end. The light at the end of the tunnel. The last 100 meters. There I was. I completed the Megavalanche.
Thank you.
You can't imagine the happiness and relief at the same time.
That's brilliant.
Le public de la Megavalanche, un grand applaudissement pour Monsieur Constantino.
Sur la casquette.
Wow.
Ah, c'est un poulet.
I don't know what to say,
Vous
but
savez pourquoi le
it was so,
poulet voulait rêver le Megavalanche?
so difficult.
Non, mais tu as un accent
So tired.
particulier. Tu viens d'où?
I'm also happy that I made it.
I celebrated with some free pizza, took a photo, because no one would ever believe me, had a shower, and that was it.
What did I?
Conclusion. Is Megavalanche worth it? In my opinion, yes. It is truly a beautiful race that will force you to touch your own limits and test all your strengths and weaknesses. I also have to give a huge shout out to the organization. It was very professional and well done, definitely deserving a big thumbs up. Even the shop from where I got my bike was great. I was more than happy with my bike, even though it cost a little more, definitely worth every penny. Would I recommend Megavalanche for amateurs? I would probably say yes, go for it. But keep in mind two things. First, train yourself before the race, especially your stamina and some overall body strength. Just don't go there like me, after months of doing nothing, like a complete potato, totally out of shape. Second, health is priority. The race overall is hard, and not just the race. You should still keep in mind that you are riding down a mountain at high speed on challenging terrain. During my 4 days here, I witnessed countless injured people. If you think I did not fall, I did fall a lot. And as I said, keep your health a priority. So what happened next, Jiří? Did you get laid? Well, sadly, no. My overall time was 1 hour and 42 minutes, which was sad enough to impress anyone. But for me, it was not about the time, it was about self-trust and the start of a fresh new chapter in my life. We went back up to the village. The cable car went through the initial trails, so I went for the green one last time, as a goodbye. You can't imagine the feeling after the previous massacre. It was so smooth.
Ah, it felt so good. It's like floating in space. Bonjour.
We made it back to the village, reintegrated the bike, said goodbye to Alpe d'Huez and went to a bus, because the adventure was about to begin.